Hello everyone. Today we are going to see the basic concepts of Module 4 which are very much important to proceed with the Module 4. First thing is you need to understand what is the name of the Module 4. Module 4 is nothing but your network security. Now if I talk about network security, as we know network is nothing but collection of devices or nodes or any mobile devices connecting together. Here security, for what you are going to provide the security, we are going to provide the security for data. So any data which is floating over a network, we need to provide the security. So that it may be providing with respect to algorithm, or it may be with respect to the methods, or it may be with respect to the services. So by using all this, you are going to provide the security for the network. So to understand these particular algorithms or these kind of methods or these kind of services, first you need to know the terminologies, basic terminologies. The first terminology which you need to know is plain text. As everyone knows, plain text is nothing but any message if you are able to read, we call that message as plain text. Now coming on to second part. Your second part is nothing but what is your ciphertext. In the sense your second part would be ciphertext. Is quite opposite to the plain text. Any data if you are not able to read, then we call that as ciphertext, not able to read. Now third point come into picture is encryption. Now what is encryption? If you want to convert your plain text to ciphertext is nothing but your encryption. Now coming on to fourth part, decryption. What is decryption? Quite opposite to the encryption. If you want to convert ciphertext to plain text, that we call it as decryption. Now fifth point. Fifth point will talk about cryptography. Crypto Cryptography. Now what exactly cryptography is? If you are going to the study, anything you are going to study of encryption, study of encryption, we call it as cryptography. So this encryption will form in the sender side and decryption will be done in receiver side. Now once you understand cryptography, your next part would be crypt analysis. Now, what do you mean by crypt analysis? Crypt analysis is nothing but the study, the study of decryption. The study of decryption, we call it as crypt analysis. Now, we will be talking about seventh part is here, cryptology. Cryptology means the study of both encryption and decryption. Encryption and decryption. That would be your cryptology. Now we have very important terminology. That terminology we call it as your eighth part would be your key. Key is nothing but group of bits. Please remember, key is nothing but group of bits which plays a very important role in encryption as well as decryption. So that is nothing but your key. Once you understand this, now the question arises how encryption is done, how decryption is done, how this cryptology or cryptanalysis or cryptography is done. So we'll talk about now encryption. Now we talk about encryption. Encryption can be done in two ways. I'll tell in very basic way. Encryption can be done in two ways. In that, first thing is nothing but your steam cipher. Remember steam cipher. Your second thing is nothing but your block cipher. Now what do you mean by this stream cipher and block cipher? Now steam cipher is nothing but bit by bit processing you are going to do. Bit by bit. Block cipher, as the name suggests, blocks in the sense the size of each block will depend on algorithm. We can tell this as group of bits. So this group of bits we call it as blocks. So these block size depends on algorithm. So this depends on algorithm. Bit by block conversion will happen in the sense one bit they will take and they will convert into a ciphertext, and that ciphertext we are going to convert. It is nothing but a encryption. So like this, valid only for shorter lengths. As we all know, ciphertext if we take this ciphertext, this is done for short shortest size of message. This is applicable for long size. So these are the basic terminologies with respect to how encryption is done. The block by block entire plain text we are going to divide, as you can see here, block ciphertext here, entire what's the entire message or entire block, entire plain text we have, right? Plain text that we are going to divide into half. In the sense with respect to blocks, we are going to divide this with respect to blocks, and that blocks will be converted from plain text to ciphertext. So these are the two ways how we are going to do encryption. Encryption is nothing but conversion from plain text to ciphertext, but we have something called certain mechanisms should also be there, right, for encryption. So now we will be talking about encryption mechanisms. Very important. Encryption mechanisms. What encryption mechanisms are? They are majorly two two types are there. Two types of mechanisms. In that in that the first in that the first mechanism is nothing but your symmetric encryption. Symmetric encryption. The second mechanism is nothing but your asymmetric asymmetric encryption. ENC is nothing but encryption. Now, symmetric encryption. What is this symmetric encryption? Symmetric encryption is nothing but you are going to consider key or group of keys. You are going to take key or group of key. We are going to use same key for both encryption and decryption. We are going to use same keys for encryption and decryption. That is the major difference between asymmetric as well as symmetric. Now, if I talk about asymmetric, here we are going to use two different two different independent keys, two different independent key pairs. In the sense, one public key will be there, and second is your private key. Public key and private key. Here in the symmetric, we are going to use only one key, that name is secret key. In symmetric encryption, we are going to use only one key, the name is secret key. We are going to use this key in both encryption and decryption. Here we are going to use two different keys, one is for encryption and one more is for decryption. For example, if one sender is going to use public key, and that is for encryption, and at the receiver side they are going to use for decryption as private key. That reverse can also be happen. If the sender uses private key for encryption, then the public key will be used for decryption. So vice versa, every user will be having their pair of keys. all the users will be having their own pair of keys like public key or private keys. So these are nothing but your asymmetric. Asymmetric best example overview if I give encryption if they use KV, that is key A, and for decryption if they use private key KR is nothing but your private key, then this would be your sender. If you go to receiver, here encryption they are going to use is private reverse, and for decryption they are going to use as public. So vice versa. This would be the symmetric view, asymmetric view encryption. So once we understand these basic concepts, we have something called as plain text, how exactly the conversion happens. One by one we are going to see, this we are going to see with respect to your syllabus. So this is the basics. Thank you.